Welcome to Fearless with Jason Whitlock. Happy Saturday. Thank you for joining me. Awesome show. Shemeka Michelle is going to join me here in just 1 second. We're going to go through a Shannon Sharpe interview with the actress Amanda Seales that I think is very fascinating and interesting. I'm going to have to give Shannon Sharpe a lot of praise throughout this conversation. I also want to thank our great friends at Good Ranchers for making this possible. This episode is brought to you by Good Ranchers. Good Ranchers is locking in your price until 2026. When you subscribe to any of their boxes of 100% American meat and seafood, use my promo code FEARLESS at goodranchers.com and save 10%. Shemeka, I'm going to bring you into this conversation now, but there's some things I need to unpack. Amanda Seales, a child actor, I think with Disney or Nickelodeon or one of them deals. Now she's 42. She's on the Issa Rae show, Insecure. Been in a handful of movies. She's got some kind of comedy special. She's one of the light-skinned, I don't know if I think her mother's from Grenada, so I'm reluctant to call her a African-American, but I don't think she's, full. But I know her dad was Black American. I think her mother's from Grenada. Light-skinned, attractive woman that's probably been lied to most of her life because she's attractive and because she's light-skinned. But she's one of these whiners and victim people. And so she's on a podcast on Club Shay Shay with Shannon Sharpe, and people have been reacting pretty strongly to some of the conversation because Shannon Sharpe appropriately pushed back during this conversation. So I want to start with her unpacking this story about how she was bullied when she was at Disney. And I find it interesting how Shannon Sharpe engaged with this part of the conversation. I got a hat tip, Shannon, for being a man and standing up. But let's play, I believe it's SOT number 5.
So when I was at Disney,
yes,
and I was in the situation at Disney, I was there as the only Black girl.
Okay.
And there was a whole crew. It's like 12 of us. And so I was called an N-word right there while I was there. And I was also bullied while I was there because I was told that you're only here because you're Black. You can't really dance. You're just here because you're Black, so don't get any ideas. So that's what I'm being told by the other children. Does that suffice as racist to you, or would you want to call it something else? Is that just kids being mean?
The kids. So let me ask you a question. As a child, you never said anything derogatory? You was just this model citizen as a child? I mean, children. Now, we're talking children, not functioning adults. Now, if you told me the adults, parents were telling you this, or the execs or people that are in charge of Disney are telling you this, I could agree with it. But at 89, you're probably 8, 9 years of age. Maybe younger.
So you have no problem with the children that were cursing out Ruby Bridges and the Little Rock Nine? You think do you think that was just them being kids?
Two things can be true. Kids can be kids and not function as an adult, and things can be wrong. And sometimes when kids say things, they're repeating what they heard their parents say. They don't know it's wrong.
So what about the children who are receiving it that know it's wrong? Does that not matter?
Yes.
So if I'm 10 and I'm receiving that treatment and I know it's wrong, does it make my experience of it less?
It doesn't make it any less valid. No.
So that's what we're here to talk about, my experience.
Yes.
So my experience is that I experienced that and it was difficult. So that's the valid part of this. I'm not here to protect those people because it's irrelevant.
So and this is what makes a lot of people difficult to deal with. She's 42, and she's on a podcast during an interview talking about something that happened 32 years ago. She got called a name, and it hurt her feelings. And we're here to talk about my experience. And this happened 32 years ago. Some kids called you a name. It happens. Kids, I know I call people names. I know I did things that hurt kids' feelings. And that's what Shannon Sharpe was conveying. It's like, I get it, it's bad. And yes, they shouldn't have used that word, but it's 32 years later. Y'all kids, certainly you've lived long enough to know, like, kids do really dumb things and say inappropriate things. and they grow out of it. And I did so much dumb stuff and so many things I regret, and I hope, and maybe people are still 30 years, 40 years later, oh God, Jason Whitlock he called me names when we were at recess in 6th grade. And I've just never gotten over it. And we're here talking about my experience. Your thoughts, Shemeka?
Jason, this was 3+ hours of beige rage. And listen, yes, you're right. Kids say the cruelest things. I can remember going to I was at an all-black elementary school. We called each other Black African booty scratchers. That's just what it was. But I didn't 30 years later sit around thinking, this is my experience, and thinking that I needed someone to apologize to me or rub me on my back or scratch my scalp, because I'm ailing over it. No one cares once you get to a certain age. And she claims that she's been in therapy. Well, fire the therapist because he didn't seem to help you. She still has a victim mentality, and kids will be kids. She brought in the whole Ruby Bridges thing, but I really like that Shannon Sharpe pushed back and said a lot of times these kids are just repeating what their parents said, what they heard them say. I would tell jokes that I had no business repeating because I heard my uncles sit around and tell jokes. I didn't even know really what the punchline was about, but if I got some type of reaction, hey, I'm going to keep doing it. And so we will say things as kids that we really don't mean. It's not truly who we are. Doesn't mean that we're racist or we're evil. And it's just really sad that Amanda is still thinking about these things 30 years later.
Particularly when we're talking about at 10 years old. She didn't say, like, hey, they took me into a bathroom and did horrible things to me. She got called some names. And so it's, I just don't have that level of sympathy. And it's great. She went to college and she got some master's degree in African American studies with an emphasis on hip hop from Columbia University. And she's one of these babbling Ivy League idiots that has a degree from Columbia in Black victimhood with an emphasis on hip hop. Could you imagine going to an Ivy League school and any part of your degree is about the study of hip hop? You can do that at home with a pair of headsets and some old Source magazines. But you went to an Ivy League school to get taught hip hop. And again, this is why you talk about this beige rage. Again, you went to an Ivy League school off somewhere in New York for some white folks and a handful of Negroes to teach you about being Black. That's what you did. You paid some white folks at some school to teach you about being Black. And what they thought to teach you was, let me tell you about rap music. And let me tell you about all these terrible things that happen to Black people. And now you think, well, I'm Black. I know hip hop and I know a handful of bad things that happen to Black people and I can throw it up in people's faces. Your mama and your daddy failed you. You African Americans, I don't have a problem with it. Y'all know I don't. Could have been me. She's 42, too old to be my child, but I could have had a child just like this. And oh God, if I would have had to have these type discussions, it would have been a bad reflection on me. If I had a child that went off to school, hip hop and African American studies, some stuff I could have taught. Here's some cassette tapes. Go away. I ain't spending $70,000 for them to turn you into a babbling. But anyway, there was more to her victimhood. I don't think we have this clip, but we have Shannon's reaction to a clip where she told a story about the racism she experienced from one of her grade school teachers because she was correcting the grade school teacher that was giving out bad information about Aboriginal people and The teacher got frustrated and anyway, this is an example of this just out of control racism she experienced as a child in Florida, in Orlando, as a kid. And Shannon Sharpe pushed back and asked some appropriate questions. And then he went on Nightcap because over social media, people were like, "Oh, Shannon Sharpe was trying to invalidate Amanda Seals' experience and all the racism she faced and that teacher." And Shannon Sharpe offered some clarification on his own show, Nightcap, with Ocho Cinco and Gilbert Arenas. Let's play that clip.
And people like, I was trying to invalidate her experience. No, I wasn't. It's the same thing I told Monique when Monique said, I was trying to get this role and Oprah told me to go blah, blah, blah for,
Right.
and she ended up getting the role. I said, well, Monique, did you ever think that they were looking for a black heavyset woman and you two were probably the only two in Hollywood? And she said, oh, okay, that makes sense. Right. And so when she said the white lady had her teacher, I said, Amanda, did it ever cross your mind that, I don't know where you from, but where I grew up, Ocho, kids never corrected a parent or an adult.
Corrected?
Yes. And that's what I said. I said, Amanda, did you think maybe because you were a child, even though you were right, the mere fact that a child corrected an adult. Now, maybe in today's time, that's fine. Maybe where in some places you grew up. But I don't ever remember being in a situation, a child couldn't even interrupt an adult conversation. You couldn't pull on your parents or your grandparents' leg and say, hey, 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 hey. I'm like, huh? No. So that's what I was saying. I said, maybe, Amanda, it wasn't racism. Maybe it was the fact that a child was correcting an adult. But that was her experience. That's what, and like I said, I mean, that's how she felt about it.
This is, I just got a hat tip, Shannon Sharpe, and I can't believe that I'm here. I've been critical of Shannon Sharpe, but I like Club Shay Shay. I like Nightcap. A lot of times he makes points that I have to agree with, and I have to give him credit for having a pair to state these things, but there's a different way to look at these things. And so the number one thing I just think about is like, this is an uncovered woman, 42, single. I'm not sure if she's ever been married. And so she's never had a man in her, because again, it takes a marriage and that type of relationship, a really deep relationship, where a man is going to risk correcting an attractive woman. Because when y'all just dating and y'all just sleeping around, he's like, I ain't gonna do nothing that's gonna stop me from getting in those panties, so I'm gonna tell her what she wants to hear. Once you get into a marriage or a deep relationship, it's like, hold on, man, this woman got my kids, she got access to my money. I got to tell this woman the truth. And I have to occasionally correct her. And that's what I'm seeing from Shannon Sharpe here. And I got to hat tip the man that he's willing to do that and just model that type of behavior. But this is an uncovered woman who's never having her thoughts challenged. Everybody's, whatever her narrative is, whatever she feels. Well, I was correcting this white woman and she got upset because I'm black. No, she got upset because you're a child. And there's a lot of people that come from a background like a child knows its place and, let the adults handle this and you pipe down. Shannon's talking about an experience I've had, and I was a mouthy kid. But again, my parents would come in and say, what? And, they drop the N-word on me. Like, are you crazy? You're a child.
Right.
Anyway, that was how I reacted to that.
Yeah, Shannon kind of put it out there as if she was this warrior for truth, some type of awesome truth teller. But the truest thing she said in that interview was that there were people that didn't like her that had never met her. And me, I'm raising my hand because she is so annoying. The way she presents herself is like some over the top Black homegirl. And it's like a caricature of a homegirl. I remember Kim Cole used to do this act when she would do her stand up, and it was like the white cheerleader versus the Black cheerleader. And she would, do the whole neck roll and end the cheer with, "Ah, ah, ah, ah." That was Amanda the entire interview, just over the top homegirl, and it was so annoying. So when he gave her a different perspective, I didn't think he was trying to lessen her experience or tell her that's not what she felt, but he's saying, hey, since your therapist didn't do it, let me give you a different way to look at this so that maybe you can get free and stop walking around with this chip on your shoulder and being annoying and getting kicked out of every space that you enter because you are aggravating. My grandmother, she got a new car some years back. And I remember her, saying, "Grandma, what color did you get?" And she said, "Mucha." And we're all like, "Mucha? What is Mucha?" She was like, "Yeah, I got a Mucha Buick." And we go, "Mucha?" We finally look at the paperwork when we get over there and we go, "Oh, she meant mocha." But none of us, even as grown adults, were willing to tell my grandma it's not Mucha. It's mocha, because you just don't correct adults. Like as children, we just didn't do that. So even as adults, my grandma says, "You going to eat sushi?" I haven't told her it's sushi yet. If she wants to say sushi, it's sushi. And that's what we all call it when we're around her, because that Shannon is right. You just didn't correct adults. It's just what it was.
And so this is where I go back to, like, she was taught blackness at Columbia University because she didn't have an authentic Black experience or just the experience that many of us, she's 42, she's not 22, she's not 32, she's 42. She's growing up in Florida, growing up in Orlando, I guess, but she went off to Columbia and said, "Hey, teach me how to be Black." And they said, "Okay, we got a hip hop class and we'll tell you about the Tulsa massacre." Again, and so no one clearly is like, you know what, don't even worry about being Black. I'm gonna teach you how to be Christian. I'm gonna teach you how to be honest. I'm gonna teach you how to stand on this truth. And then just the environment, again, that's why it's like, it cracks me up when people are like, "Man, Whitlock's not Black." I'm like, you got to tell my mama and daddy that, and you got to tell all their friends that, and you got to tell the people at the Masterpiece Lounge that. You got to, all these experiences I've had. You got to tell all my friends that, not I got a wide spectrum of friends, but talking about my friends for the last 35 years, you got to tell all of them that. Miss me with all that. This little light-skinned girl is running around on a Shannon Sharpe podcast on Club Shay Shay, looking to have, "Look how Black I am, everybody. Look at all this racism I experienced. When I was 10, they called me the N-word and said I couldn't dance. And a teacher got upset because I was correcting her in class. I'm Black." That's what they taught her at Columbia being Black is white people said something that made you uncomfortable. Now you're Black. I want to play.
No.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no. I was just going to
Go
say,
ahead.
no real Black child that was taking their shoes off, racing in the street on the pavement, playing double dutch, playing 1, 2, 3 red light, drinking from the water hose outside, was going to Nickelodeon auditions. That's just not what was happening in the Black neighborhood for the real Black people. So the fact that she's even selling this idea that she's super Black is just silly to me. If you want playing 1, 2, 3 red light, if you want going to the store and having divide the chips because y'all couldn't all each individually afford your own bag, you would have your little parties, you get a little bit of chips, somebody get the cookies, and you have your little party on the napkin. Amanda, none of my friends were going to Nickelodeon auditions. And I was actually doing probably the most by even going across town to participate in baton classes or gymnastics classes. So miss me with that, miss me with it. It's just not, that's not it.
So at one point, she admits that she's been recently diagnosed as on the autistic spectrum. And trust me, I believe it, having watched some of this interview. But she also wrapped that up in, because of racism, it's very hard to identify in Black women. Let's play the clip.
I recently was diagnosed as someone who has autism spectrum disorder, which is very difficult to identify in Black women because of racism.
So what exactly is autism spectrum? Because I hear people say you're on the spectrum.
It used to be called Asperger's.
Okay.
But that is no longer what it's called because to my knowledge, Asperger was a Nazi.
Okay.
But what it simply means is that your brain functions in a different way. So you're neurodivergent. And you also have certain tendencies that are considered outside of what the neurotypical way of things is.
Okay.
And a lot of times that can have you present in a manner that people misrepresent.
Okay. Okay.
Which is the story of my life.
Okay.
And so when all of this started ballooning out of nowhere and people were saying, you're unlikable and you're a bully. No, not you're a bully, but you're being bullied. And these were tropes that have been associated with me before, but I'm in a new level of visibility at this juncture. Mm-hmm. And you get people saying things like, you are difficult, you are mean, you are nasty, and you know that you're none of these things.
Right.
But they're attributing it to things that are not actually action-based. Like, I don't cheat people. I don't lie to people. I don't stab people in the back. I don't operate in mendacity. I am not duplicitous. I don't do none of this shit. But I have a certain tone about how I speak. And that makes people feel like, oh, I'm mean because something about the tone that I speak in doesn't make them feel a certain way. So
can I ask you this? Not to cut you off, but were they people that you had relationships with? Were this in the workplace that you became difficult? Or this people that you just have general interactions with?
These aren't people I've met.
So it's
the people who are saying these things about me have never met me.
And that's impacting you?
Yes.
Shannon Sharpe was on it. Again, like, people you don't know nothing about, people that have no influence in your life, that's impacting you. Maybe you are on the spectrum, the idiot spectrum, but your thoughts.
Look, one of my daughters had a friend that had Asperger's or was on the spectrum since he was a Nazi or whatever. And this was the sweetest little girl. She's now a young adult. And this was never an excuse for her to just have a nasty disposition. I think Amanda refuses to accept any accountability. As we went through this entire interview, everything was somebody else's fault. She never took accountability and said, I could have done this different. I could have said this differently. I could have presented myself better. It's just, this is who I am. Take it. I got, autism spectrum. I'm very direct and blah. The nasty disposition that she even gave Shannon when he offered pushback or just challenged her a little bit, she's not even very familiar with him. So I can assure any man that would actually be willing to get into a relationship with her is signing his death certificate. Unless you like being belittled, unless you like a woman talking to you and being condescending, this is how she was. Even when Shannon was saying, I'm not trying to cut you off or I'm not trying to invalidate what you feel, he kept saying that. And there was times when she just sat there with this little, the resting bitch face and didn't even want to engage with him. She would not take accountability. And so it sounds completely crazy that the people that you don't even know, when you can just close your computer, put your phone down and go on about your life are affecting you to this magnitude. I've gotten a little pushback online. I don't care. These people are not real to me. My kids are real. My family is real. My closest friends, they are real. My coworkers are real. These people online that have no idea that I'm actually bow-legged because they don't know. They're not real to me. They don't know me. So the fact that she lets this kind of stuff work her up to the point where she's having a nervous breakdown or feel like she's going to break down, it's nuts. It's nuts. And I wish she would take some accountability. And if she's as talented as she wanted us to believe in this interview, because she bigged up herself consistently and constantly, we would be able to see that. But it's hard to see when you have all of these other things that no one wants to deal with.
She thinks that this interview is her Monique moment, that she's going to come off like Monique, and I'm just sorry. Monique is very likable. The stuff I disagreed with Monique about, the way she's come at her son that she's estranged from. But at the end of the day, I like Monique. There's a spirit about Monique and an authenticity to Monique that I just find likable. And then, of course, again, I made no secret, I love the way she talks about her husband. So that's going to make me like Monique. I got none of this from Amanda Seales. And I got the nastiness that everybody talks about. I want to play this Emmanuel Acho clip. Just, you're wondering why people are calling you nasty? You don't know Emmanuel Acho, and listen to the way you talked about it.
She is a young person. Do you know how disgusting that is? And that cornball nigga loves to make himself look like he's the white people's savior.
Who said that?
Emmanuel Acho.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
Corny C-band.
Oh, Lord have mercy, man.
Come talk to me, white people. I'm the black guy that's nice. Cut it out. It's ridiculous.
Man, I know these people, man. I'm going to have to have...
Well, you're not saying it, I am.
So that's her, in her mind, defending Angel Reese. And oh my God, Angel Reese is young, and it's disgusting that Emmanuel Acho, who had the mildest of mild criticisms of Angel Reese. But now she's dropping the N-word on Emmanuel Acho. She's, clowning Emmanuel Acho. And but I can't believe anybody thinks I'm nasty or difficult. This woman is crazy.
She called this man a cornball. Why would you need to say that about him and then act as if, oh, woe is me? If you're going to be dropping that type of terminology to people, you got to be able to stand up in it. When I said some particular comedian looked like a cartoon character, I had to stand up in that. You don't get to then back up and whine and cry and saying, I don't know why people don't like me. You got to be able to know what it is you've done, what you've said, the way she came after Issa Rae and her whole thing. This person didn't protect me. Get you a husband. You want to be protected? Get a husband so that you have a covering, so that that's his job to provide and protect you. You're looking for this in all the wrong places. So just take some accountability, Amanda, because the whole victim mentality, I feel like there was an In Living Color character that she reminds me of, and I feel like it was played by the white woman that was on In Living Color. I can't think of it right now, but I'm going to be going back through some In Living Color footage because I've seen this character before, and I feel like that's where I saw her on In Living Color 30 years ago.
Well, Steve Kim will know exactly who we're talking about, so when he sees this, he'll let us know. But the other thing is just the inconsistency in her logic. Give Angel Reese grace. She's a young person. How dare you criticize her? Okay, she's a young person. She's 21, 22 years old. But the 10-year-old kids that called you names, let's don't give them a pass. Let's don't, oh, well, they're young people and they make mistakes. No, 32 years later, you're still upset. And this is the bigotry. And this is what, man, you were damn near Emmett Till, because on the set of some Disney show, they called you a name that you didn't like. And 32 years later, you're still scarred. This woman needs help. And this is uncovered women that have never been married, never. Whoo, boy, they're dangerous. They got degrees from Ivy League universities, having been taught about hip hop and African Americans. I mean, you go to Columbia to get taught about black people. Think it through, young lady. Here she is attacking Candace Owens, and this is a clip where I would push back against Shannon Sharpe, because he kind of goes there with her as it relates to Candace Owens. But here they are discussing Candace Owens.
Sometimes, and it's happened before, people in our community forget that they're black. And they try to appease a group of people that's probably never going to embrace them. And once they realize that, guess who's the first group to take them back?
I don't know her.
You know, I ain't say nobody's name, Amanda. You don't even know who I'm talking about.
I don't know.
How you know who I'm talking about? But we've seen this happen before. Rest his soul, O.J. Simpson. You know, he had the famous quote, "I'm O.J., I ain't black." Even Michael Jackson went through what he went through, rest his soul.
Right.
Even Kanye had to be reminded. And now Miss Owens, I don't want no black pilots, I don't want this, I don't want that. And now we can't keep off our black media stations. When before she gave us her butt to kiss. Now, if I'm lying, if I'm speaking out of turn, people, y'all correct me. But y'all know I'm telling the truth. Now, you're talking about somebody that's always uplifted this community. And I was one of the first guys that had a viral moment with Cat Williams, and they couldn't wait. They couldn't wait to attack me. But Candace has given y'all her butt to kiss for 2 decades. And the moment, what they doing? They can't fire me. They can't fire me. The hell you say? Now look at her.
It's not her fault.
Whose fault is it? No. Let's not take that blame.
That let her back in.
Huh?
The spaces that let her back in.
Oh, okay. But that's how we are. We're very forgiving people.
Who taught us to be that?
We do.
Who taught us that version of forgiveness? Do I need to do the lesson?
No, because I know.
Them slave owners taught us that version of forgiveness. They gave us a Bible called the Slave Bible. And this Bible had parts of it taken out. It had the parts of uprisings taken out. It taught about forgiveness because they needed to make it okay in their minds.
No matter how bad I treat you, at some point in time, I need you to forgive me for the wrongs I've done against you.
Babbling idiot who, a babbling secular idiot, and is like has totally missed the entire point of forgiveness and just how fallen we all are, and how Jesus Christ died on that cross, forgiving all of our, just a babbling idiot. This was, again, most of what Shannon did on this, I liked. This was a bad moment. I don't even understand. I don't even understand why put her. She don't even know who Candace Owens is, and all this stuff about like they shouldn't allow her on these platforms. She should be canceled and unable to speak on the Breakfast Club or Joe Budden's podcast. They shouldn't allow that because she's got a different take on George Floyd. Weakest moment of the show for Shannon, but Amanda Seales continues to show her ignorance, and I'm really going to wrap up this point in a second. But your take.
Yeah, Amanda was being Amanda on this, but I was really irritated with Shannon when he said people forget that they're black. How do you really actually forget that you're black? You are in this black skin every single day. You look in the mirror, most people, every single day. What actually is supposed to make you feel black? What's supposed to make you think black? What's supposed to make what are you supposed to do to show people that you are black? If she disagreed with the politics that most black people line up with, it doesn't mean that she's not black. Just because she married a white man doesn't mean she's not black. Just because maybe she didn't play, the same type of games or politics or, that most black people play. How do you say she forgot that she was black? I just need to know, what does that even mean for Shannon? And to say people shouldn't allow her in these spaces, it's a different train of thought that everybody should be exposed to. The same way he had Amanda up here, and Amanda gets to tell her train of thought and her pro-black, and listen to me, I went to Columbia and I'm well versed with hip hop. Candace should be able to be in the same spaces so people can get a different point of view. I don't like the idea that somebody can't go to a certain venue or into a certain group of people simply because they think differently. I don't like that. And just the idea of, we were taught, she was, this type of forgiveness we were taught by white slave owners. What about the Bible? Or what about just not being bitter? I know atheists that have very good personalities that will forgive you. Nobody wants to walk around with such heaviness all the time. I was told a long time ago, bitterness makes you look old. So I'm very forgiving with people because I want to age, but I want to get older, but I don't want to age. I don't want to show everything that I've been through by just looking at me. So I think it's silly when people say, oh, if this was the white man, or, she forgot she was black. No, she didn't. That's not even logical. And then Shannon, for 2 decades, Candace used to be a Democrat. She was a liberal. She said that out of her own mouth. So then it shows just how little you know about this woman, because she once had the same thinking. She has changed, and that's just what it is.
The other thing, and I say this because I'm telling you, and I'm sure Shannon and his followers can't figure, like, what is Whitlock doing? He hates Shannon. Why has he been consistently praising Club Shay Shay and giving, because again, that's just the way that I am. If I see something I like, I'm going to say I like it. And I don't care whether I like that person. I don't care what our history is. There's no secret agenda. And so I want you to hear what I'm saying, Shannon, or whoever works for Shannon, and the people that monitor, and the groupies of Shannon, that Shannon, you got to be careful, man. Just walk your logic through in terms of, she did X, Y, and Z, and so we shouldn't have forgiven her. We shouldn't allow her on these spaces. I want you to walk through your own personal history and then the personal history of a lot of athletes, black athletes, that run afoul of the law, get accused of sexual misconduct. And so should the standard be like, oh, well, that person made this mistake, and therefore they shouldn't be ever allowed on these platforms? Just the fire you're trying to burn Candace Owens down with will be the same fire that will be used against you. It'll be framed under a different standard. But these other athletes, these people that don't want to practice forgiveness, have you forgotten about your sins? And that's a message to me. That's a message to you as well, Shannon. I again, there's things you're doing since leaving Undisputed that I can't do anything but tip my hat and say, hey, man, I didn't know you had this in you. What you've done with Club Shay Shay, the Cat Williams interview, Nightcap, and just the way you're coming off better. But sometimes you just make big mistakes and say things that just, I don't know if you've thought all the way through. And so I just want to say that. And then I want to, when we talk about mistakes, and Amanda Seals and a lack of forgiveness, and we shouldn't allow him back on this in this space. Myron Rolle, I don't know if you've ever heard of him, Shemeka, but he was an All-American football player at Florida State, could have been an NFL player, most people believe. Instead, he went off to medical school and is some type of surgeon, and he's really, really, really well respected. Amanda Seals, trash, and he's a black dude, Myron Rolle. Shannon Sharpe, I'm sure, knows Myron Rolle or has met him, certainly knows of him. She trashed, smeared this dude's reputation. And maybe all her information was right. Who knows? But there's a lot of people who feel like, man, what she did to Myron Rolle is some of the most unfair things I've ever seen done to a black man. And so what if that standard applied to her? Look what she did to Myron Rolle. She shouldn't be allowed on any of these platforms. These people are so hypocritical and so not just thought out. But I want to play this. It's a 2-minute clip of just Amanda Seals and some of the things she has previously said about Myron Rolle.
I really don't take it lightly what I'm about to say. Because when you name names, you know, you put not only that person out there, but you also put yourself out there. But I feel as a woman who makes it my business to be a warrior for the truth, that it needs to be said. On my podcast and on The Breakfast Club, spoke about an individual who had approached me on the internet and who we spoke on the phone, and that they said some troubling things in the conversation that made me take a step back, and that also, with literally like no investigation, it was brought to my attention that he had sexually harassed a woman by opening the door when she came to meet him for a date, butt naked, and then telling her that she was the one who was overreacting, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I heard that one story and was just like, whoa, that's crazy. When I spoke about him on my podcast and on the Breakfast Club, I didn't say his name. I literally just said a couple like characteristics about him, and it has been shocking and incredibly discomforting to me how many women, 8 as of tonight, that have come forward to say his name. They knew exactly who he was, to say his name, and that he had been incredibly problematic and, behaved in a very sexual, predatory way with them that some have said could have gotten him fired. So I say all that to say, if you are approached by Myron Rolle, you should just be mindful. I don't have empirical proof, but I've had enough women come forward saying that he was incredibly inappropriate with them, that I feel it would be inappropriate of me to not put the word out there that there is a man that is not being okay with women.
Shannon Sharpe, I hope you're watching or someone sends you this. And so I want you to listen to what she just did to Myron Rolle. And just think about yourself, think about your friends, think about all the guys you play with in the NFL, high-profile guys. And say, man, this woman is capable of doing that, unloading on someone based off some gossip and hearsay. And just think it through. The exact same fire you're trying to destroy Candace Owens with, that fire can come for you. It's called a backlash or whatever it is. Anyway, it could happen to you. So, Shemeka, last thing I want to make a point about with as it relates to Amanda Seals is just putting all of this out here in context so people can understand just how deranged and stupid. This woman was on the knockoff show of The View. I think it's called The Real, and defended Jussie Smollett. And this is why I keep these. Again, I don't know what her mother is from Grenada, but these identity confused, light-skinned people and just their ethics. And again, she's just called herself a soldier for truth or a warrior for truth. That's what she just said in that Myron Rolle deal. Listen to her talk about Jussie Smollett. stop there. Stop there. So, a warrior for truth. But even if it was a hoax, it was noble, and basically I'm for it. And so I'll lie to get whatever it is I want, and I'll call it noble. But I'm a warrior for truth. This is a very dangerous woman Shannon Sharpe was sitting across from. She's on some kind of autistic spectrum. She has serious identity issues. She's an uncovered woman who's never really been challenged consistently with her thoughts. Her feelings and her point of view is a level of truth that is irrefutable. And she's good with lying as long as it furthers her narrative that racism is a terrible thing. This is a nut job. And Shannon, you did mostly a great job dealing with her, but be careful, bro. Your thoughts?
Yeah, she goes on in that same segment, Jason, to say that white people cannot be victims of hate crimes unless they're a part of the LGBTQ group. Now, that's simply crazy because
Hold for 1 second. Hold for 1 second. Hold for one. She said, I made in this clip, I can see that. If I can see that in this clip, continue to play the rest of the clip because I want the audience.
I don't think it's in that one. I think it's in, there's like 2 parts on YouTube. I don't think it gets to that part in the clip that we have for the show.
All right.
Yeah, but she goes on
I'm
to
sorry.
say,
Yep.
yeah, they have it. I mean, Hadley has it if he can send it, but she goes on to say that white people cannot be victims of hate crime. So when you listen to someone like that, my whole thing with Amanda is just be authentic. And maybe this whole over-the-top homegirl act is all she knows because that is what she went to school to learn, and they did a very good job. But it just comes across very inauthentic. And again, I don't like to say that there's only one way to act Black. This is what I was saying with the whole Candace Owens thing. But when it comes across fake and it comes across rehearsed and it doesn't come across real, I have no choice but to just say, it ain't real. And if she was to say, hey, I had a very good childhood. I got to participate in Nickelodeon shows and Disney shows and just be honest about that. But everything has to be, I was a victim. People hated me. You know why? Because I'm Black. Girl, it's just so inauthentic. You know, anybody that is around her should be very watchful, Shannon included, because she can spin something and put it out there as fact. What she did to that man after saying, I have no empirical proof, but you want to go on to say, be careful of being around him. I'm going to say that about her. Be careful of being around this type of woman because she seems to go to the extremes and is willing to do anything to be heard and to have some type of attention on herself. Because why would you say it's okay to lie, but you're a warrior for truth? It's never okay to lie. If Jussie was wrong, he was wrong, and there was no justification for that. It's silly to me that she would even try to make that okay. It wasn't okay.
Shemeka, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll play some tomorrow, and we'll see you guys next week.
Nothing in life like freedom. Came like a fighter, striking like a ladder, making all this moves for freedom. I want freedom. No negotiation, my sister, no relation. We all just wanna have freedom. Sitting on the corner, never been alone. I'm breaking my back for freedom. Blessed, we are living, get back. We are receiving, all deceiving. We all wanna be free. We want freedom. I wanna be, I just